baby was named Aryeh Lev because my father-in-law's father shared that name. He had that name, Aryeh Lev. So, we're able to be in the West Hartford community where my father-in-law's father, he had the practice. He built up a podiatry practice here that my father-in-law is continuing in, and I just wanted to mention that first. This is my daughter, Tana, and you want me to hold you? All right. She wants me to hold her. Okay. Fine.
Got another hand?
Yeah, this is fine. So I just wanted to talk about a couple of things. First, of course, I want to talk about my father-in-law's father. Unfortunately, I did not have the opportunity to meet him, but I have heard from my wife and my in-laws and their family about him. He was a very strong man, which mirrored his name, Aryeh Lev, lion heart. Very, very strong man.
You can have a couple of
As long as you don't play with it.
Honey,
No.
honey, you want to see the baby? Come here.
Sorry, that was just because I couldn't think of what to say, so that was very helpful. Thank you. Okay, so my father-in-law's father, even though he did not grow up religious and he was not a religious man, but he always showed the utmost respect for the Torah and Judaism and Torah observance. My father-in-law is very inspiring how he discovered Torah and he decided he wanted to go to YU and to lead a life of Torah observance. And after seeing that my father-in-law was serious about it, my father-in-law's father gave him full support, and he respected it, and he was very supportive. So it's just a testament to his nature of being very accepting and being being a Baal Chesed, being a man of kindness. And the truth is that I think the midah that really stands out is his straightness, his needing to be true to his principles. He was a man of principle. He didn't waver. He was very committed to the truth. I wanted to mention that in this week's parsha with Yaakov Avinu, the Torah relates to us how he was traveling to his mother's family, to Lavan, and to escape from Esav. And on his travels, when he was getting there, he stopped by a well, and by the well there were shepherds who had their camels and their flocks, kneeling down as if to depart and go home. So he said to them, "Hein od hayom gadol, lo eish he'asef hamikneh." He said, "The day is still great. It's not the time for gathering in the flocks now." He was under the impression that they had finished with what they were doing with the flocks, and they were going to take them home. And he said it's not that time. And Rashi comments on that Yaakov Avinu was giving them reproof. He was telling them it's not appropriate. If these are not your own animals, it's not appropriate because you're being paid to care for this flock, and it's not the proper time to go in. And even if it's your own flock, it's still not the proper time, and you should do what makes more sense. You should do what's right. So I think from this it illustrates a very interesting thing, because the Torah, everything that the Torah relates us is for a reason, to communicate to us ideas and the right way of things and the way to act and to think. So if you think about this, how many of us would do that? You know, someone's doing something, his own thing, on that side of things. Someone is doing something that's not maybe the best way to handle his property. Okay, maybe these are your friends, you know, these are total strangers, and he felt the need to express that and to talk to them about it and to try to get them to do what makes more sense. So, you know, this is very interesting, because the second side of it, it's not a religious thing, it's not a, you know, it just, what makes more sense ultimately? You have a flock, and it just doesn't make sense. It was something that he couldn't really deal with. He couldn't handle it. If someone else was mishandling their property, it bothered him. It went against his sense of right. It went against his sense of what's true and right. So, you know, this ties in very, very much to my father-in-law's father and his sense of justice and right. I just want to add, the name Aryeh Lev is also shared by many illustrious Torah scholars over the generations, one of whom he's named after, he's well known by his sefer, his Torah work that he authored, called the Bris of Aryeh Lev, which was a very expansive work on Torah concepts dealing with monetary law. And he was asked, the story is related that he was asked by peers of his generation who also authored Torah works that were not nearly as accepted. This work of the Bris of Aryeh Lev is studied in yeshivas worldwide, across the country, and all over the world extensively. And he was asked by a peer of his, how come your work has been so well accepted and so successful? So he said, whenever I write something, and whenever I put down an idea, I write it down, and then I think about it, and then I erase a lot of it, and I write it again in a better way. He kept on fine-tuning and elaborating and just making sure that he hits the mark completely without missing it, even one iota. And because of that, that was recognized by the Torah leaders and the scholars of his generation and for generations to come, that, you know, is something that has been well respected, and therefore his work was so well received. But it also underlines the midah that he had of emes and his focus on truth and his desire to make sure that he did what was right. And the truth of the matter is that this ties into really what life is all about, which is doing the right thing. And when we speak in terms of doing the right thing, so every person from wherever he is and whoever he's attached to has opportunities to seek the truth or to let the truth slide by. If a person is a Torah observant Jew and he has a rabbi, as everyone here, Baruch Hashem, has, they can turn to him. And even in their own learning, they can look things up a little bit. They can, if there's something that's a question, they can ask the rabbi. And then for people who are on higher, you know, levels or of expertise and skill, such as the rabbi, he can look into these Torah works, try to derive the truth. But for him, it's a different challenge. Everyone has their own set of challenges of seeking the truth versus letting it slide. He, you know, someone like the rabbi could look into those works and derive the truth. Or there's always a challenge, because there's always things that pull us away from being able to spend the proper time to come out with the truth. And we also have, you know, people who are maybe we look up to, who we can ask. And then, you know, it's a whole system of seeking the truth. And wherever a person is, he can always seek the truth or let it slide. So, ultimately, this can really be summed up with one phrase from our sages, which is Rahman Liba Bayit, the merciful one wants the heart. Meaning he wants to see that we're trying to do what's right. And I think that this is a very appropriate piece of Torah to talk about in relation to my father-in-law's father, because that was really a tremendous midah that he had. I would like to give bracha to the baby, Aryeh Lev, that he should grow up with that midah and always try to seek the truth, and to try to help people also with chesed, such in the way that that my father-in-law's father always did. I was told he would constantly be seeing patients for no cost. Those who were disabled, who didn't have money, who weren't able to pay for the services that they required. All right, I would like to ask my father to come up and share a few thoughts with us on this occasion.
It's great to see Avi getting some real rabbinic experience, trying to talk with nobody listening and a lot of interruptions. It's good practice. First, on behalf of Sarah and myself, I'd like to express our gratitude to Kadosh Baruch Hu for the opportunity to be here at the simcha of the bris milah of our newest grandson, Aryeh Lev. And it's particularly pleasing that we can share this with our dear Mechutanim, Stan and Evelyn, and this very warm and really a community that is remarkable in so many ways. I think you all know the West Hartford community. So thank you for that. Thank you for sharing this in the simcha. And it's our karas hatov that we, to our Kadosh Baruch Hu,